Well, this is a real treat to be able to demonstrate the spotted method with someone who really knows nothing about it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't pull you off the street, but we haven't practiced
Practically.
this. No, right? Yeah, practically. So, most people who are watching, many of them have a lot of experience with it. But I think it's a really great opportunity for people who are just new to it to see how easy it is to use the method. So I appreciate you willing to do
Yeah,
this.
thanks
So
for having
we've
me.
taught you a little bit, but not a whole lot. So let's start off with the first step is the example, the situation. So just in your own words,
Yeah.
tell me, and I may coach you
Okay.
afterwards, but just tell me the situation that you wanted to use the method on.
Yeah, so I was at work and I was feeling a lot of pressure by my to-do list. There was a lot going on a specific account that I was working with. We had one person who was PTO and somebody who was going out on vacation the next week, so it was just a lot of moving parts. And with work, I had been asked in my evaluation to be more transparent about my bandwidth and really reach out to my team for that support.
Yeah.
So I was, feeling empowered to do that
Right.
after, kind of like reading through my evaluation and having those kinds
Right.
of conversations.
Yeah.
And so in this, scenario in particular, I
Yep.
was like, I'm going to take that step.
Yeah.
And it kind of backfired a little bit to me because when I was, asking my team, I was like, hey, can someone write this pitch for me? It was met with, well, what else are you doing on your other accounts? Almost as if they didn't trust that my bandwidth was what I was
Excellent.
saying that
Excellent.
it was.
Well, without any previous coaching, she just did a great job. The first step is about briefly describing a situation without a lot of adjectives and working it up. Often people go, you can't believe what happened. But what they don't realize is when you do that, you're actually putting gasoline on the fire and working yourself up. And you did a really nice job of just it's almost like being a reporter. You reported the situation. And the nice thing is you took us to the moment. You gave us some background information. You took us to the moment which triggered the symptoms. And that was, you asked for the help. And what was the response you got? What did someone say?
The person
Yes.
in question,
Yeah.
my boss,
Yeah.
she asked me to send her like what I was doing on other accounts.
Got you. And the nice thing is, that's where the first step ends, right there.
Yeah.
The second step starts going into our reactions to what happened.
Yeah.
We call it the symptoms, step number 2. And we break them down into 2 things. There's physical symptoms you get. It might be some tightness in your throat or uneasy feeling, your leg starts bouncing around. And then we have thought symptoms, like who does she think she is, things like that. We'd like to start with the physical symptoms. Do you remember, and when you're new, sometimes you're not even aware of it, but can you look back and you remember any physical sensations you felt in that moment?
Yeah, I definitely felt like my heart racing a lot. Like I felt super jittery.
Yep.
Almost like I just like had a coffee or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
So I feel like the adrenaline was definitely really high.
Good.
I had like tension in my back.
Right.
Like because like I guess also like the way I sit, like being seated at work, I feel like that's probably where I first get like that tension is in
Yes.
my back. So when that's like even enhanced even more
Yeah.
when I've got other things contributing to that level
Right.
of stress. So those were like the 2 main things that, I was
Excellent.
feeling.
Now, can you go back and remember any thought symptoms you had when this happened? Or you may have had them subsequently. You can continue to have some of those thoughts. But remember any of them?
Could you give me an example?
Who does she think she is? Oh,
yeah,
no.
that one
That
for
one.
sure. Main one.
Yeah. Bingo.
That's the main one for sure.
All right. Who does she think she is?
Yeah.
Did you have any like, oh, no, I made a mistake. She told me to voice, but no, I didn't. Now I'm in trouble. Any?
Yeah, I can walk through that.
Yes.
So it was very much like, this is what happens when I
Yes.
ask to like when I,
Right.
step outside of my comfort zone and
Yes.
delegate. And I was very frustrated. And my thoughts like, this is why I don't pass off work.
Right.
This is why I'm a lone wolf when
Yes.
I work. This is why I like working alone.
Yeah.
That was like my biggest,
Yeah.
response to that. I was like, never doing it again.
Yeah. Very right. I promise everyone out there, we never met before, but this is literally the first time we're going through this. It's beautiful, So that was good. And what she did really well, what Ashley did really well, is that you reported it. I had this one, this one, this one, this one. Again, when people are new to often they're going, who does she think she is? And they're actually in the drama. And what you start to learn is it's almost like dissecting something.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, and you did it perfectly. The third step is the spots, the phrases. Now, I know you've looked at the card. Many of you have this out there, and you already started looking at some of the thoughts. Again, for people who are new, the core essence of this whole methodology is that it's not the situation that triggers the symptoms. It's our reaction to it. And typically, it's our thoughts that trigger what we experience as the symptoms. So it's simple. What Dr. Lowe taught was, the founder of this whole method, is if it's thoughts that triggered, it's thoughts that can heal. So you started to pick some spots that you thought would apply.
Okay, just read off.
Yeah, pick the ones that you...
Angry temper, I'm judging the other person as wrong.
Yep.
I definitely thought she was wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Who does she think she is?
Who does she think she is? Another one, don't go for the symbolic victory. Give up the need to be right. I always have a need to be right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I do, though. Like, in my field, it's like you're very much looked down upon if you're wrong.
Yes.
Like, we're a right type of people.
Yeah.
Like,
I get it.
And then temper blinds us to the other side of the story.
Good. That's good. There's 3 of them. And I'm just quick. Any other one you look at there that pops out at you that may?
Let me see.
Nice thing is none of these are really wrong, and we're always practicing.
Yeah.
We're practicing the method.
It's just stressing, but not dangerous.
Perfect. Now, the second part of step 3 is this idea in self-endorsement. Now, we told you a little bit about. Did we tell you much about the self-endorsement one?
Could you walk me through again?
Yeah, sure. So, just like it's insecure thoughts that create the symptoms, it's secure thoughts that create the peace, which is the antidote, right? So, what we found, what Dr. Lowe understood, was that when you give yourself a pat on the back, that creates an inner security. We're looking for security. Way more than anyone could give it to you. We can give it to ourselves. So the second part, because we're all this is about, it's like building not a house, you're building more peace of mind. So one of the great builders of peace of mind is self-endorsement. So, and he said, endorse yourself for everything. You got out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
You brushed your teeth. Why? Because everyone is building a greater sense of security. So, looking back on the situation, anything you can endorse yourself for in the situation, or anything like, hey, I finished the project, or whatever.
I didn't fly off the handle.
Yeah.
I tend to, if someone makes me feel uncomfortable, I will bang down their door and be like, let's talk now.
Yes.
So I took a moment, I took a beat, and really kind of like slept on it. The next day I felt better about it. I asked somebody for help, like, you know what I mean? Like I reached out to a friend who's in a similar field as me.
Yeah.
And I, ran through what happened, and I was like, what are your thoughts on this? So yeah,
I don't keep saying this. I feel like we have a star in the making here when it comes to Spot It. You're really doing it so beautifully. And you'll start to learn and say, literally, I endorse myself for talking to my friend. I endorse myself for sleeping on it. Even he said in the 30s, this is a habit that's hard for people to learn. We're more geared to put ourselves down. So it's a cultural thing, actually a worldwide culture, a human thing to learn. The last step is, now this is new for you because you haven't done, the fourth step is success, which is, all right, how have I reacted before I knew the method? But you don't really have that yet.
Yeah.
You'll start practicing it, but then you'll be able to look back and go, oh, before I knew this, I would have reacted. But even though this is new to you, tell us a little bit about maybe how you would have reacted. You told us a little bit, I would have banged. Like, what might you have done in the past?
I would have tried to probably prove that person wrong in the moment.
Yeah.
Because for me, work for me is so serious. I take everything very, very seriously. I put everything into my work. So I feel like sometimes it's not personal. You know what I mean? When someone is, asking you to do stuff. Like, I was just talking to my friend Funny earlier today. He was saying something about, his perspective. I was like, well, maybe it's not you, maybe it's the other person.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And kind of like taking that in and being like, this is how they work. This is, their methodology. And you don't necessarily have to prove that you're right all the time.
Good. So you can see, even for being new, you can see how I grew a little. Now, the reason it's so important is because when you see yourself growing, it gives you confidence, a greater sense of inner security, which again is the antidote to the insecurity and the symptoms. Right. This is not about being right or wrong. This is all about building our own inner peace, our peace of mind, our ability, and in the workplace to be more effective. Now, when you're doing it with someone else, like me in this case, and I could be calling you tomorrow or in a week, and you could be helping me. Then my job is, again, we don't give any advice here. I give some spots too. And the way this works is, it's not really even your example. It's like you put it on the table for us to practice with. It's as much my example as it yours you gave us. So I get to practice too. So I know I never tried to memorize any of these. I've been just doing it over time. You'll start to build a kind of your own repertoire, ones you're used to, and little by little you'll build some. But I'm going to stick to the card a little bit because this is what you're getting new, and you can repeat ones. So yes, I'm going to spot angry temper, which means you're judging the other person is wrong. Why that's so important, as soon as you have temper, you have symptoms. It's not about what they did. As soon as I have temper, I just cause my own upset inside. So you spot angry temper. This is going to be a hard one. I know you're new to this.
Let me have it.
I'm going to spot he or she was not right or wrong for what they did. I'm going to spot expectations disappointment, meaning you had an expectation they would respond differently.
Definitely.
And you had a disappointment. There's a great spot that goes with this, which talks about self-appointed expectations. Your own expectation is self-induced frustration. You created your own frustration unknowingly.
Yeah.
Okay. You can excuse rather than accuse the other person for the sake of your mental health. And and peace of mind. I'm gonna add one more. It's so average. It's average when you're giving your heart and soul to someone and someone says, I'll do this, and they don't. It's average to react like that. And then endorsements. You can endorse yourself. It's called holding your speech muscles. You didn't react harshly. You can endorse yourself for giving yourself some peace and stepping away for it. And you can endorse yourself, like you said, for not going for the symbolic victory.
Yeah.
So everyone, this is Ashley's first time, again, maybe it's a new star coming up in the spotted world, but I thank you so much for sharing your example. You did a great job with it, and hopefully it'll help some folks out there better understand the method and use it themselves.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
All right. See you later, everybody.
Bye.